All right, we're back, and I forgot to mute my. Should probably mute my television before we get on the air here.
Yeah, I just did.
There we go. Mileski, Pat Micheletti, second intermission, game one between the Minnesota Wild and the Vancouver Canucks, and the Wild now have a 2-0 lead after 2 periods with 1 period to go up in Edmonton. And Pat, that first half of that period was all Vancouver. The Wild weathered the storm thanks to some pretty good goaltending by Alex Stalock.
Well, we talked about it, Brandon. You need good goaltending in the playoffs, and Alex has been great tonight. I mean, he really has. And I tell you, Vancouver put some pressure on. They looked like they got their legs a little bit more. They were moving the puck. They were cycling and had Minnesota on their heels for a while. But Jared Spurgeon comes up again. I was going to talk about him anyway, Brandon. And I know you love the guy.
Yes.
But take away the goal. His play in the defensive zone is just incredible.
I want to ask you about that Spurgeon goal because, the defender came out to block the shot. Really, the only spot I want to know what your thinking is. I know he's a defenseman, but as a goal scorer, because typically a guy isn't shooting 5-hole from the slot there. So is it one of those situations where he sees the defender go down and he's just trying to get it between the defender and hope it gets on net, or what's kind of his thinking, or did that not go where he wanted it to go? What was he thinking there?
Well, he's a really smart player, and he knows the defender's going down, so he's got to find a way, any way to get it through him, and he timed it perfectly, and it's all react, timing, and he waited. He didn't take the shot right away when he got the pass from Stahl. He looked and saw the defender going down and picked the spot, and it got through.
So Spurgeon with a goal and assist, Eric Stahl with 2 assists, both on the power play. We've talked special teams many times before, Pat, and I saw a stat from Michael Russo on Twitter that basically said from like early March to the end of the season, and early February from March 12th
to March.
The Wild had the second most power play goals in the league, and they were drawing penalties at that point. And I still think just the emergence of Kevin Fiala on that power play, where one, their zone entries are so much better because he's now taking care of it in the neutral zone, and two, the fact that the attention he gains and garners has really elevated that power play.
Well, the speed through the neutral zone. How many times during the season did we talk about the lack of speed through the neutral zone, and that whether it be 5-on-5 or power play or any situation at all. And when he gets moving, the D have to step back. They can't hold the blue, and then that allows them to get in the zone much easier. And if they don't commit to him, or if they do commit to him, then he can just dump it off like we've seen. And the entrances into the zone have been terrific.
Aaron Holmes says, need a 5-on-5 goal to start sparking joy. I will say, Pat, if this is a 5-on-5 series, I like the Minnesota Wild in this series.
I didn't like when it went to 4-on-4 because there's more skill there. There just is on the Vancouver team when you're at least talking their forwards. But hey, it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. And specialty teams are so important, and Minnesota's connected twice.
But one of the underrated facets of this is Vancouver's yet to have a power play in this game.
No.
And they have a ton of skill, a ton of talent, and you want to keep them and obviously they had the too many men that we talked about last intermission that negated their one power play opportunity. But the Wild have had 3 chances, they've taken advantage, but most importantly, they've kept Vancouver from having that 5-on-4 edge.
Oh, they have, and we talked about after the first intermission about Vancouver trying to get more traffic in front, but they're trying. But the Minnesota defense is doing a really good job in front of Alex, not allowing all of the pucks to get to the net, and and that's frustrating for a team who's desperately trying to get a goal.
Mallory Martinez wants to know thoughts on the 4th line.
Fantastic. I think Donato's been great. You saw Hartman deliver a bruising hit on Tanev. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and all they listen. They think they can score, but they're also really being good defensively. You saw Donato work hard to get the puck out of the zone, on the wall. Something, that he probably wasn't real good at before. But, I think that line's been terrific tonight.
Tim wants to know, he says, seems like we can't win a faceoff. Could this one come back and haunt us? Pat, I mean, Vancouver, especially Bo Horvat, have been really good on faceoffs all season long. The Wild have not been good on faceoffs. Sometimes I think faceoffs are important, such as power plays when you start in the zone and you have possession, and obviously the last minute and two of a game, it's important. But sometimes I also think the faceoff stat gets a little overrated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you win it, you control it, but depending on the situation. And look, they won a key one when they needed one, right? On the first goal of the game, they win the draw on the power play, get it back to Fialo. Not a great goal, but a goal. And that's all that matters.
Greg Swedberg is just a great X's and O's mind. He says,
I learned a lot from him.
Yes, me too. How can the Wild stop that long stretch pass to the weak side wing? Vancouver gets zoned too easy.
Well, I mean, that's a defenseman stepping up and reading and reacting. I mean, you've got to keep your eyes on where the puck is, right? And who has it and where they want to go with it. So especially the weak side D has got to read that a little bit better and time it. It's a big timing thing, because if you get beat, then they're behind you. And but it's just a matter of the weak side being ready for that pass.
The biggest concern for me has been third and fourth guy coming in on the rush for Vancouver. They seem to find that guy trailing. They've had about two really great. Actually, Suter made a great defensive play on that pass attempt there in the last 30 seconds. I don't know why he did. I don't know why he was passing that. You got to take that shot. But that being said, broke up that play. The Quinn Hughes play earlier that Stalock had a huge glove save on. That's kind of been the one concern for me, is making sure they're picking up those late guys coming into the zone.
Yeah, listen, they've been pretty good, but there's a great point you make, because the shot should have been taken. It wasn't. Minnesota kind of dodges a bullet. Suter makes a great play there, but I've been pretty happy with the way the Minnesota defense has played tonight.
The always infamous Minnesota Wild question with a 2-0 lead going into the third period. Alex Coles 10 asks, any chance they go into a shell, or do they keep pressing?
They go into a shell, they'll lose the game, because Vancouver's too talented up front. And of course you're going to think, okay, let's not go into a shell, but you've got to. It's just a matter of playing smart. You don't want to change your game, but no, you don't want drop passes at the blue line. Unless you have a 4-on-2 or whatever the case may be. But it's a matter about being smart. It's a matter about getting pucks in when you cross the red line. No drop passes, no cross ice passes in your own zone. And so, you don't want to take away the aggressiveness of your team, because it's been successful. So, they've got to just keep playing that the same way that they are.
And I will say, Dean Evison has preached aggressiveness since he's become the head coach. So, there's a smart way to be aggressive, and there's a reckless way to be aggressive. As you mentioned, you can't just pinch for the sake of pinching. You still got to be smart in certain situations. But 2-0 is definitely not a big enough lead to just let off the gas pedal. And I will say, Pat, I want to know, you've probably watched lots of playoff games over the last 2 days. With 3 games being played in the same building in the middle of summer, what are your thoughts? Have you noticed any ice condition stuff, whether the ice has been soft or the pucks have been bouncing so far in third periods of these games before?
20 years ago, I would have answered that, yeah, it's a problem. But I think the technology and the ice crews at all of these buildings are the best in the business. So the ices look pretty good to me. Obviously, like any time, you want to take advantage of it early in the period, because it does get scruffed up a little bit. But for the most part, to me, it's looked pretty good.
Dylan LaFave 5 wants to know who's an under the radar player we need to keep an eye on the Canucks.
Well, I don't know if any of them are under the radar, but Pearson is a heady guy. He's been through this before. Won cups with LA, and he still has something in the tank. So he's a guy. Gaudette's a up and coming player. Plays on their third line, and I saw some quotes from him, earlier this summer about really ready to take that next step. So he's a guy you got to pay attention to.
Well, it's kind of a weird question to ask for Vancouver because when you think of under the radar guys, you think of guys on your bottom two lines or
Right.
your fourth, fifth, sixth, and that's where they're weak.
Yeah, right.
And really, I guess maybe I would even say maybe their most under the radar player is the guy who led their team in scoring, and JT Miller. I don't think he gets a lot of the accolades of a guy, for a guy who scored 27 goals. Isn't really as well known around the league, I don't think.
I don't know if he's completely on his game. He had an opportunity in the slot. You're not going to see him, shoot one over the net, and he's not quite there yet. I'm sure we'll see a different JT Miller come game 2, game 3, but that's a good thing for the Wild that he's not on the top of his game right now. And hopefully they'll hold him off in the third.
All right, final topic, Pat. What are your thoughts on watching the game with no fans? It seems, it's great to have hockey back. I think the quality of play is good. It still seems weird, especially since it's a playoff game. If it was a regular season game, I don't think it would be as noticeable. But it is still weird. Like that hit on Hartman, how massively huge the crowd, the ovation you'd be getting from the crowd. So it's still a little weird to have playoff hockey with no fans.
It is. And that was a great point. And go back to the first period with Ferland and Foligno dropping it, dropping the gloves. The crowd would have went crazy there. But I'll say this 100 more times. The NHL has done a terrific job of their presentation of the games and what they've done. And I think that's helped the players out quite a bit also.
Pat, we are not doing Wild Fan Line after the game tonight.
We are
it's a
not.
Late one, and people are not going to be listening to the radio at 1:30 in the morning. But we're basically doing kind of a pseudo Wild Fan Line when you join me in studio tomorrow, noon to 1. I'm in for the Common Man. So the 10 of Fitzgerald takes place noon to 3 tomorrow. You'll be with me in studio noon to 1. We'll be breaking down this entire game and taking calls and emails.
I'm ready to jump on the boat, Brandon. All
right, thanks, Pat. It's been lots of fun. We'll also do this again Tuesday night when the Wild play an even later game at 9:45. All right, thanks, Pat.
Sounds great. Thanks. Bye.
All right, he's Pat Micheletti. I'm Brandon Mileski. The Wild have a 2-0 lead after 2 over the Vancouver Canucks in Edmonton in Game 1 of their best-of-5 series. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you tune on over to FM 100.3 KFN to listen to Tom Reed, Bob Kurtz, and Kevin Fallness the rest of the game. Have a good night. Go Wild.